Good afternoon. Today I am going to start once again a history from chapter Nazism as the rise of Hitler, fourth unit. Youth in Nazi Germany. What about the condition of a youth? You will read in this Nazi Germany. Hitler was fanatically interested in youth of the country. He was always favored to the youth. He felt that strong Nazi society could be established only by teaching children Nazi ideology. Nazi society could be established, and he thought that this Nazi society can be established by teaching children a Nazi ideology. This acquired a control over the child both inside and outside school. This required means the Nazi ideology means children were taught all the Nazi ideology about a Nazi inside also in the classroom and outside also. What happened in schools under Nazism? Now the school pattern is given. What happened during the Nazism? All schools were cleansed and purified. They were all cleansed and purified. This meant that teachers who were Jews or seen as political unreliable were dismissed. The teachers even who were not related to the Nazi ideology, they were Jews, they were totally dismissed. Children were first segregated, children were separated. Germans and Jews could not sit together or play together. Germans and Jews, they cannot sit together or play together. Subsequently, undesirable children, Jews, the physically handicapped gypsies, not only Jews, the gypsies were also there and were thrown out of the school. They were thrown out of the school, and finally in 1940s they were taken to the gas chambers. So this was the punishment, while the children who were not belonging to the German, those children were taken to the gas chambers. Good German children were subjugated to a process of Nazi schooling. The good German children were taught the Nazi schooling, a prolonged period of the ideological training. School textbooks were rewritten, all the books were again written. Racial science was introduced to justify Nazi ideas of a race. Stereotypes about the Jews were popularized even through maths classes. They were seen everywhere. Children were taught to be loyal and submissive. Underline this first and second paragraph, it's very important. Children were taught to be loyal and submissive, hate Jews and worship Hitler. So they were taught that you have to hate the Jews and they must worship to the Hitler. Even the function of a sports was to nurture a spirit of violence and aggression among children. So they were taught like this way. Hitler believed that boxing could make a children iron-hearted and strong and masculine. So Hitler was always favored in the boxing those who could make a children iron-hearted and strong and masculine. Youth organizations were made responsible for educating German youth in the spirit of the National Socialism. 10-year-old had to enter Jungvolk. Jungvolk means Nazi youth groups for children below 14 years of age. Those who were in the Nazi group, they were near about 14 years, below the 14 years of age. So they formed the Jungvolk, entered the Jungvolk. At 14, all boys had to join the Nazi youth organization, Hitler Youth, where they learned to worship war, glorify aggression and violence, condemn democracy and hate Jews, communists, gypsies and all other categorized as undesirable. They were taught to hate the Jews and gypsies and other categorized as undesirable. After a period of rigorous ideological and physical training, they joined the labor classes. After 14, they joined the labor classes, usually at the age of 18. Then they had to serve in the armed forces and enter one of the Nazi organizations. So this was all about the youth, how they were taught, how they hate the Jews, the gypsies and other undesirable group. Then they had to serve in the armed forces and enter one of the Nazi organization at the age of 18. The Youth League of Nazis was founded in 1922. So Youth League was founded Nazi in 1922. 4 years later, it was renamed Hitler Youth after Nazi They have renamed once again the Hitler Youth to unify the youth movement under a Nazi control. All other youth organizations were systematically dissolved and finally banned. Other youths were totally banned, and only the Nazi youth was there. So new word is given. Jungvolk means Nazi youth groups for children below 14 years of age. Now in the box source C and source D you will read yourself. Now let me teach the 67 page 4.1, the Nazi cult of motherhood. Children in the Nazi, this was all about the previous paragraphs you have read just now. They were all about the youths, how their schooling was, how they hate the Jews, and now you are going to read the motherhood that time. Children in Nazi Germany were separately told that women were radically different from men. So in this they have hated to the women were radically different from the men. The fight for equal rights for men and women that had become a part of a democratic struggles everywhere was wrong, and it would destroy the society. So like this way, while boys were taught to be aggressive, masculine and steel-hearted, boys were taught to be very strong and steel-hearted, girls were told that they had to become a good mothers and rear the pure-blooded Aryan children. The mothers were taught a pure-blooded Aryan children. Girls had to maintain the purity of the race. Distance themselves from Jews, look after the home and teach their children Nazi values. They had to be bearers of the Aryan culture and race. In 1933, Hitler said, "In my state, the mother is the most important citizen." But in Nazi Germany, all mothers were treated equally. In Nazi Germany, all mothers were treated equally. Women who were born racially undesirable children, they were getting a punishment, and those who produce a racially desirable children were avoided. So mothers were taught like this way. Those were the undesirable children they born, they were punished, and those who produce racially desirable children they were awarded. They were given favored treatment in hospitals and were also entitled to concessions in shops and on theatre tickets and railway. There were a lot of concessions to the mother in Nazi youth. To encourage a woman to produce many children, the women were encouraged to produce more and more children. Honor crosses were awarded. If the mother would produce more and more children, they were awarded. A bronze cross was given for 4 children. Bronze was given the award to the 4 children who were already produced, and silver for 6 and gold for 8 or more. So like this way, the motherhood they got an award. All Aryan women who deviated from the prescribed code of conduct were publicly condemned and severely punished. Those women who do not follow this Nazi ideology, they were totally punished. Those who maintained contact with Jews, Poles and Russians, they were paraded through the town with the shaved heads, blackened their faces and placards hanging around their necks announcing, I have sullied the honor of the nation." The mothers had to follow the German Aryan society. They have to hate the Jews, Poles and Russians. And they got this punishment. Their heads were shaved and their faces were blackened, and the placards hanging around their necks announcing, I have sullied the honor of the nation. Many received jail sentences and lost civic honor as well as their husbands and families for this criminal offense. So they were punished like this way. The art of propaganda, how the Nazi ideology was propaganda. The Nazi regime used language and media with care and often to great effect. The terms they coined to describe their various practices, and not only deceptive, they are chilling. Nazi never used the words kill or murder. Nazi never used the word kill or murder in their official communication. Mass killings were termed as a special treatment final solution for the Jews and for the disabled, selection and disinfection. Evacuation meant deporting people to a gas chamber. Those who were undesirable, they were put and taken to the gas chambers. Do you know what is the gas chambers were called? They were labeled disinfection areas and looked like a bathrooms equipped with fake shower. They were kept in such a danger places. Media was carefully used. Media was carefully used to win support for the regime and popularize its worldview. Nazi ideas were spread through visual images, film, radio posters, catchy slogans, and leaflets. So Nazi ideas were already they were spreading their Nazi ideas with the film, radio posters, catchy slogans, and other. In posters group identified as the enemies of the German were stereotyped, mocked, abused, and described as a civil. Then liberals were represented as weak and degenerate. They were attacked as a malicious foreign events. Propaganda films were made to create a hatred for Jews. Now, films were made only just to hate the Jews. The most infamous film was The Eternal Jew. Underline this. The most infamous film was The Eternal Jew. Orthodox Jews were stereotyped and marked, and they were shown with flowing hoods, wearing kaftans. Their look was different. They used to wear a kaftan, whereas in reality it was difficult to distinguish German Jews by their outward appearance because they were a highly assimilated community. They were referred to as vermin, rats, and pests. So, like this way, the punishment was given, and their movement were compared to those of rodent. Nazism worked on the minds of people. Underline this. Nazism always worked on the minds of people, tapped their emotions, and turned their hatred and anger at those marked as undesirable. So here Nazi ideology was that they have to favor the German Aryans, not to favor the undesirable, and the undesirable ones was given a punishment. The Nazi made equal efforts to appeal to all the different sections of the population. They sought to win their support by suggesting that Nazi alone could solve all their problems. Now on this page some figures are given: a Nazi poster attacking Jews, and the next page is given German farmer, you belong to Hitler, why? Now next tomorrow I will start the 5th unit.